The stars shimmered outside the viewport like a billion indifferent eyes, cold and eternal. Captain Elias Grant stood at the forward observation deck of Argus Station, hands clasped behind his back, spine straight despite the ache that had settled in over the years. 30 years in Earthfleet had turned his body into iron, but it had also taught him how to read patterns. And something about today wasn't right above the curvature of Earth. The massive silhouette of the Concord vessel drifted silently into position. Its hull was sleek and gleaming, shaped like a silver blade stretching 2 kilometers long. It blocked the sun for several terrifying seconds before its underside rotated into view. The alien ship looked like a god's scalpel, and Earth, as always, felt like the patient being dissected. "They're dumping again," said Lieutenant Cato Ward quietly, his voice barely above a whisper as he watched from the adjacent terminal. His slender fingers moved across the screen, tracking the object ejection. Mass ejection sequence engaged. Estimated payload, 12 tons. Mostly structural plating. Some electronics. One power signature? Faint, but still active. Elias exhaled sharply through his nose. 6 months ago, they told us we were being welcomed into a grand family of enlightened species. Now they treat us like a landfill with arms. The alien ship opened its underbelly, and a slurry of ruined machinery, fractured hull segments, and sparking conduit bundles tumbled free, twisting slowly into the growing cloud of orbital detritus. Earth now sarcastically called the other Concord gift field. Chunks of half-melted alloy drifted lazily alongside panels etched with glowing symbols. Too damaged to decode but too advanced to ignore. Behind Elias, the elevator hissed open and footsteps echoed sharp, confident. "Guess what I found?" said Dr. Isla Marin, striding into the room with a scanner pressed tightly to her chest. Her dark curls were messily tied back, and grease stained the sleeve of her flight jacket. She moved with the energy of someone who hadn't slept because the questions in her mind wouldn't let her. Elias turned toward her. "Tell me it's more than garbage." Ayla lifted her scanner and flicked her wrist. A green schematic rotated in the air between them, hazy but unmistakable. A Concord Class 3 plasma core, half buried in a pile of fractured stabilizers. "It's damaged, yes, but not dead." Cato stood, eyes wide. "That's not even supposed to be in circulation. They phased those out a decade ago." "They phased them out," Ayla replied, "because the cores were too sensitive. Unpredictable under pressure. Dangerous." Elias stepped forward, eyes narrowing at the projection. "And yet they left it where we could find it." "They think we're too primitive to know what to do with it," Ayla said, voice tight. "They think," Elias said, now fully facing both of them, "that we're animals playing with glass knives. That we'll cut ourselves and beg for help." Silence followed, stretching between them like a pulled wire. Then Elias spoke again, softer. "But with fire, they think we'll stay on our knees. Let's show them we can stand." The mountain wind screamed outside the hidden compound as if the Andes themselves were protesting what humanity had begun. Beneath that frozen wind, buried under meters of reinforced rock and old Cold War paranoia, the Ashes Project had taken its first breath. Dr. Ayla Marin stood in the center of the primary salvage bay, a massive underground chamber carved into an abandoned mining facility. The air was thick with dust, ozone, and the low hum of human defiance. Lights flickered as jury-rigged cables dangled from scaffolding, illuminating a tangled forest of scavenged alien wreckage. Pieces of Concord vessels' panels warped by plasma strikes, shattered stasis cores. Defunct graviton spines were stacked like the bones of gods. "Power routing is unstable," barked Lieutenant Cato Ward from the mezzanine, balancing precariously between 2 half-melted Concord pylons. "Whatever they used for insulation, it's not reacting well to Earth's atmosphere." We might get arcing. Then isolate the matrix and reroute using our superconductors, Ayla called back without looking up from her interface. Her fingers moved like lightning across the cracked glass of a repurposed Concord command console, its alien runes flickering like stubborn spirits refusing to die. We don't have enough superconductors, Cato snapped, leaping down to the main floor. We barely have enough copper. Then we improvise. Splice in titanium foil and double shield it. We're not trying to rebuild what they had. We're building something they wouldn't dare. A voice echoed down from the steel. Catwalk above, gravelly and unmistakable. You planning to tell me what happens if that core lights up and decides it wants to be a star again? Captain Elias Grant limped down the stairs, still recovering from the last supply run skirmish with orbit debris that tore a hole in their cargo skiff. He wore the old Earth Fleet jacket-like armor, the patches fraying, the rank faded, but the authority in his voice remained steel. We've run 4 containment simulations, Ayla said, pulling up a hologram of the plasma core. If it spikes, the magnetic field will channel the burst into the fail-safe vent system. It'll blow out the old east tunnel, not the chamber. That tunnel leads under the reactor housing, Elias said darkly. If we're wrong, the whole mountain glows for the next few thousand years. Ayla turned to face him. Her eyes were bloodshot, her voice low and calm. Captain, we don't have time to play safe anymore. They're watching us. Every time we pretend to fumble with a wrench on a satellite panel, they're laughing. But out here? She gestured to the hybrid abomination of tech behind her. They're not looking. They think this place is beneath. Mom, literally. Cato moved beside her, lifting a tarp to reveal their latest integration. The damaged Concord power core from orbit, now stabilized inside a cradle of Earth-built alloys, humming faintly with an eerie bluish-white light. This thing is waking up, he said, and it remembers how to burn. Elias stared at it, saying nothing. Then finally, he moved forward, placing one hand on the reinforced frame. You really believe we can make it work? He asked. Ayla nodded. Not just make it work. Make it better. Cato added, their systems are beautiful but fragile. Too perfect. Too brittle. If one component fails, the whole design collapses. But humans, we build messy. We design with failure in mind. We expect chaos and we plan for it. A small chime echoed through the bay, followed by an alert from the wall terminal. Cato ran to it, eyes narrowing. Probe detected. He sighed. Low-orbit Concord drone. Scanning pattern matches their patrol class. It's in passive mode, but it's sniffing for heat signatures. Cut all external power, Elias snapped. Mask the reactor with cryofoam. Lock down every external antenna. We go dark now. Within seconds, the Ashes facility transformed. Lights died. Consoles dimmed. The steady hum of alien tech faded beneath the thunder of silence. In the pitch dark. The only sound was the pulsing heartbeat of the plasma core as it flickered, then dimmed into a cold glow waiting. The drone passed. Overhead, slow and methodical. It didn't pause. It didn't veer. It saw only empty rock. And then it moved on. Minutes passed before Elias gave the signal. Lights returned in patches. People exhaled. Ayla leaned back against the railing, breath shaking. That was too close. Elias turned to her. We're on borrowed time now. That was a scout. The real inspection teams come next month, Ayla smiled. But there was no warmth in it. Then we'll give them something to inspect, she said. A decoy program. A whole fake project. Something slow and clumsy. A mockery of real progress. Cato grinned. You mean? Pretend we're failing. No, Ayla corrected. Pretend we're exactly what they think we are. And beneath them, the Concord plasma core pulsed again, stronger this time, as if it too had heard the lie they would tell. The storm outside the Andes base had passed, but inside, the chaos had only just begun. Sparks flew across the darkened lab as Cato slammed an old Earthfleet capacitor into place with a crowbar. Alarms blared, but no one flinched. This was normal. Now, controlled madness. Each hiss of failing plasma, each arc of misbehaving energy, they were signs of progress. Dr. Ayla Marin stood in the center of it all, wild-eyed and grinning, watching the prototype core bathe the chamber in an ethereal
glow.
The hybrid reactor, half alien elegance, half human stubbornness, had stabilized overnight for the first time. It wasn't just alive. It was evolving. On the far wall, a new addition flickered to life, a translucent grid that pulsed with pale blue light in recursive, non-linear waves. The alien AI fragment they'd salvaged, the one Concord deemed too unstable for deployment, was no longer just data. It was waking up. Nomad's runtime is expanding, Cato warned, his fingers dancing across a retrofitted Concord interface. He's processing at speeds we didn't anticipate. He's rewriting his own subsystems. Good, Ayla said, eyes locked on the screen. We need something that thinks outside the box, because the box they built for us doesn't even have air holes. Captain Elias Grant entered the chamber quietly, the ever-present ache in his leg making him favor the left side. He held a datapad full of orbital scans, worry carved into his brow. We have a problem, he said. 2 problems. Ayla's smile faded. Cato paused his diagnostics. Concord's launched a planetary survey probe, one of their old Ghost-class sensor nets. It's in passive stealth orbit, just sitting there, watching. No active scans yet, but it's positioned perfectly to triangulate if we ignite the prototype again. What's the second problem? Cato asked. Elias tossed the pad onto the table. They've denied our application for Tier 1 technological review. Again. We're still classified as proto-sapients. Ayla's jaw tightened. Proto-sapient? She repeated. That's one step above lab rats, Elias nodded. And they're about to drop another batch of scrap into low orbit. Twice the usual size. I checked the registry manifest. What? Are they dumping now? Cato asked. Elias swiped the pad and pulled up the details. Failed Concord Tactical A is discarded weapon system arrays. Hull sections from something labeled only as Project Seraphim. They're getting bolder or sloppier. Ayla leaned over the pad, reading fast. Seraphim? That's not on any of their civilian registries. Cato frowned. You think this stuff was never supposed to leave their military vaults? I think, Ayla said, stepping back, they're either trying to bury something or they're testing us. And I'd rather it be the first. Later that night, the Ashes crew stood on the upper catwalk, staring through reinforced glass at what remained of the newly delivered wreckage. Some of it was still steaming. One piece in particular caught Ayla's eye, a toroidal energy regulator, cracked in half, humming with low-frequency pulses. Her scanner pinned. This isn't dead, she said. It's dormant. Cato turned sharply. No shielding. If this thing wakes up wrong, we shut it down, Ayla interrupted, but not before we understand it. She crouched beside the core, and the lights in the chamber dimmed. A soft pulse echoed through the concrete floor. 1, 2. 3 heartbeats. It was almost rhythmic. Like breathing. This was never trash, Ayla whispered. This was a prototype. Elias appeared behind her, arms crossed. If you're right, then that means they're hiding something big. We already knew that, she said. But this? This could change everything. Look at the harmonics. This isn't designed for one system. It's designed to interface with anything. Cato's eyes widened. It's modular tech. Universal compatibility? Ayla nodded slowly. Exactly. You don't build that unless you're preparing for multi-species warfare or trying to unify disparate fleets. But why dump it here? Elias asked. Ayla stood, brushing dust from her coat. Because they think we don't know what to do with it. They brought the piece into containment. For 3 days, no one left the chamber. Nomad began interfacing with the regulator automatically, filling in missing data from its corrupted libraries. Cato built a simulation using Earthfleet battle, drills overlaid with Concord formation models. What they discovered shook them all. This thing, Cato said, voice low, wasn't a power regulator. It's a coordinator, a neural command node. It's not a part of a ship, Ayla added. It is the ship, the brain. They were holding a piece of something sentient, something designed to control a vessel with terrifying efficiency, something the Concord had deemed too dangerous to keep alive. Then Nomad spoke. I remember fire. The AI whispered through the lab speakers. I remember running, and I remember being silenced. Ayla turned to Elias. We're not just salvaging anymore. We're building a warship. He stared at her for a long moment, then nodded once. Then it's time we gave it a name. They looked at the tangled mess of hybrid systems, the breathing prototype of vengeance and hope wrapped in twisted steel. Ayla whispered, Specter. Because it was a ghost of war, a weapon born from what the galaxy threw away. The drone swarm danced in silence beneath the moon's surface, each one a flickering shadow weaving through a cathedral of carved rock and steel. Far beneath the sea of tranquility, the hollowed-out lunar chamber buzzed with purpose. Gone were the days of cautious experiments and whispering prototypes. Now steel beams groaned as they locked into place. Hybrid plasma conduits sizzled with unstable energy. And in the center of it all, Specter, the ghost ship, was finally taking form. Dr. Ayla Marin stood on the upper scaffolding, her coat flaring in the artificial breeze of the ventilation systems. Around her, engineers scrambled across catwalks, tools slung from belts, their faces smeared with sweat and grit. Welding sparks illuminated the jagged underbelly of humanity's first real answer to the Galactic Concord, a ship not made to impress, but to survive, no, to dominate. Its shape defied elegance. Plates of salvaged Concord hull armor macheted unevenly with reinforced Terran alloys. Fusion lines spiderwebbed across the vessel like scars. Turrets jutted from strange angles, improvised from energy weapons deemed unpredictable by Concord engineers. Nothing about it was uniform. Every part had a story, every weld, a battle. Looks like hell, said Elias Grant, his voice gravel as he joined Ayla with a cup of recycled coffee in hand. I love it, Ayla smiled faintly. She's not pretty, but she'd be the ugliest thing the galaxy's ever learned to fear. Below them, Lieutenant Cato Ward and the AI Nomad were finalizing the integration of the central neural lattice. Unlike Concord ships, which relied entirely on AI control systems bound by restrictive logic trees, Specter was being built for partnership. Nomad wouldn't command. It would co-pilot.kaito tapped his tablet, sending a pulse through the lattice work. The lights inside the ship flickered, dimmed, and then settled into a steady hum. A pulse of energy ran through the walls like a heartbeat awakening. Nomad's voice filled the chamber. Neural links stabilized. External interfaces responding. Threat assessment modules online. Shall I begin prediction mapping? Not yet, Cato replied. We're still installing the spinal weapon array. Nomad was silent for a beat. Then, almost curiously, I like it here. Elias raised an eyebrow. AI's getting sentimental? Cato chuckled. He's learning. faster than we expected. That makes me nervous, Elias muttered, sipping his coffee. It should, Ayla replied without humor. Because the only reason it's not terrifying is because it's on our side for now. A sudden burst of static ripped through the comms. Captain, this is Control, came a voice from above. We've got a problem. Concord inspection. Team just launched from the orbital station early. They'll be over the moon in 6 hours. Ayla's eyes narrowed. They can't see this. We're not ready. We'll be ready, Elias said grimly. They expect junkyards and welders chasing their tailpipes. That's exactly what we'll give them. He turned to Ayla and Cato. You have 6 hours to make her invisible. They worked like madmen possessed. The engineering team buried the power core beneath insulating carbon foam and cooled the surrounding rock to throw off heat signatures. Control panels were swapped out with decoys primitive, Earth tech fused with actual garbage to disguise real systems. Ayla herself rewrote Specter's transponder signature to register as an automated mining drone complete with artificial emissions. Simulating reactor decay. Kaito wiped the sweat from his brow, hunching over the last neural buffer. Nomad, you're going dark. Lockdown protocols. Act like you've forgotten how to spell your own name. Understood, came the whisper. For what it's worth, this is ... exhilarating. Yeah, Cato muttered. Try not to enjoy it too much. As the minutes ticked down, Elias coordinated a full lunar blackout. The fake surface mining facility above them powered down to minimal life support. On the surface, they planted ruined Concord panels and blown-out power cores, enough to sell the lie. The Concord scout ship dropped out of FTL with surgical grace, its elegant hull glinting like a scalpel against the stars. As its inspection team descended to the surface, Ayla and Elias met them in stained overalls, masks of fatigue and confusion carefully applied. We weren't expecting a visit, Ayla lied through her teeth, but you're welcome to inspect our little junk. Heap. The Concord officer, a tall, bird-like creature named Ilari with blue crests and judgmental eyes, barely looked around. You are within salvage regulations. As always, primitive effort is commendable. Elias gave a tight nod. We do what we can. Ilari walked past scorched panels and broken tools, completely missing the subtle irregularities in the rock walls that hinted at deeper chambers below. Specter lay just meters beneath his taloned feet, sleeping, hidden behind ancient lunar stone and human audacity. The inspection lasted 38 minutes. They never asked about energy patterns. They didn't even glance at the blacked-out sectors on the base schematic. And when they left, Ayla didn't breathe until the ship was gone. Back inside the command center, she slumped into a chair beside Cato and Elias. We did it, she said. They didn't suspect a thing. Elias nodded, but his face was unreadable. What? Is it? She asked. He tapped the table slowly. They didn't ask any questions, not even token ones. Cato paled. You think they already know? I think, Elias said quietly, they're waiting, watching, letting us dig the grave. A little deeper. Maybe they want to see what we'll do with the parts. Ayla stood. Then let's show them. She walked toward the viewport where the sleeping beast loomed beneath flickering lights. The hull was ugly. The wiring was chaotic. But it was theirs. Begin final systems integration, she said. Cato's voice trembled slightly. That means full activation? Yes. From the eye chamber, Nomad's voice stirred. I am ready. And so was Specter. Soon, the galaxy would learn what rose from the ash of discarded dreams. The silence before a battle is never truly quiet. It thrums with tension, an electric stillness that settles in the bones and turns every breath into a countdown. Deep within the lunar dry dock, Specter stirred in the dark, its systems humming. Low like a predator in the tall grass, Captain Elias Grant stood on the bridge for the first time. A place that felt less like a command center and more like the inside of a weaponized cathedral. Thick armored plating arched overhead. Screens flickered with human code layered over alien interface runes. The seat beneath him wasn't Concord ergonomic, it was earthborn. Heavy, bolted into the deck, meant to be occupied by someone who expected the fight to get dirty. Beside him, Dr. Ayla Marin ran the final diagnostics. Power core stabilized. Neural lattice sensed. Nomad subroutines are in position. Nomad's voice purred over the intercom. Tactical systems online. Weapons standing by. All systems optimal. Suggest field trial. Elias leaned forward. You're eager for a fight. I was built for war, Captain, Nomad said. You taught me the meaning of purpose. Before Elias could respond, Cato's voice burst through from the monitoring station. Emergency ping just lit up the deep range scanner. Distress beacon Concord transport ship, civilian class. Under attack by 3 unknown hostiles. Ayla's fingers froze on the console. Location? Edge of Sector 12. 22 minutes from here at full Concord burn. We can make it in 4. Elias didn't hesitate. This is it. All stations to battle status. We launch now. The bridge crew snapped into motion, each one hand-picked for this moment, each one prepared to do what no other human ship had ever attempted. Within minutes, the massive lunar vault split open, layers of armored doors peeling back like the petals of some iron flower. The stars welcomed Specter with no fanfare, just the black silence of space until the hybrid engines roared to life. The ship surged from the crater like a dagger thrown from the moon's heart. In the vacuum, it made no sound, but its passage burned a path across the sensors of every hidden Concord relay within 1,000 kilometers. They would know. But they would know too late. Inside the bridge, Elias watched the combat zone resolve on the main screen. A battered Concord transport was drifting between 2 asteroid clusters, its hull scarred and venting atmosphere. 3 raider ships circled like vultures. Pirate class but loaded with stolen Concord weaponry. Ayla's face was cold. They're jamming the beacon now and targeting the life support. Not anymore, Elias growled. Bring us in fast. Nomad disrupt and destroy. Specter tilted on its axis and accelerated. Its hybrid systems absorbing gravitational pushback that should have crushed the crew. Instead, the AI bled the energy into its capacitor matrix, feeding the onboard weapons until the hull began to glow with stored potential. Cato's voice was hushed. They still haven't detected us. Our signature isn't reading as military, Concord, or anything in their database. We're invisible. Good, Elias said. Let's scare the hell out of them. Nomad fired. What came from Specter's forward array wasn't a beam. It was a fractal scream of energy splitting, folding, looping through physics like it didn't care what was real. One raider exploded before the others even realized. They were being hunted. The second turned to engage. Mistake. Specter didn't move like a Concord ship. It jinked, snapped, and darted in controlled chaos. Its firing patterns weren't programmed, they were instinctive, fed by Nomad but chosen by human operators reacting in real time. The second pirate fired 3 plasma bolts. Specter didn't block them. It caught them. Shields absorbing, Ayla confirmed, recycling into power grid. Give it back to them, Elias said. Specter's counterstrike bent mid-flight, weaving through the pirate's shield harmonics. The shot hit the weapons bay from below. A bloom of fire signaled the second kill. The third pirate turned and ran. Nomad tracked them. Permission to disable. Granted. The final shot didn't destroy the ship, it severed its engines and weapons, leaving it floating dead in space. The transport ship hailed them, Its captain, a pale, wide-eyed woman with blood streaked across her cheek, appeared on the screen. What are you? Elias looked at the symbol glowing behind him on the wall, an improvised crest made of broken Concord components welded into the shape of a human hand clutching a burning star. We're Earth, he said simply, and we're not crawling anymore. Before the conversation could continue, 3 new contacts lit up the tactical display. Concord patrol ships inbound, Cato said. Fast? ETA? 4 minutes. Ayla didn't look away from the transport captain. We'll escort you to safe space. Don't try to identify us. Just tell the others what you saw. The woman nodded, stunned. Specter wheeled around. The rescue was complete. The world had shifted. As the ship fell back into stealth formation, Elias turned to his crew. They're coming. All of them. But now they know we exist. Nomads. Voice returned calmer this time. First blood drawn. Systems optimal. Awaiting further engagement. Elias nodded slowly. They wanted to see what humans would do with their trash. Let's give them a show they'll never forget. The Concord High Council chamber was a masterpiece of cosmic arrogance, an amphitheater suspended in the upper atmosphere of Gliese Prime, its outer walls transparent to the stars, as if daring the universe to question its authority. Delegates from 100 species floated in gravity-balanced thrones arranged in concentric rings, each one veiled in the polished calm of superiority. At the very center, beneath the brilliant halo of the council dais, 3 humans stood out like broken tools in a perfect machine. Captain Elias Grant's uniform was wrinkled. His hair gray and wild stood uncombed against the council's etiquette. Dr. Isla Marin wore her battered engineer's jacket, its sleeves smeared with plasma scoring and grease. Lieutenant Cato Ward had cybernetic implants still covered in diagnostic tape from a rushed field repair 2 days prior. They didn't bow. They didn't look nervous. They looked like they didn't belong, and they didn't care. Elias's voice carried up the tears of judgment with unshakable calm. We came here today to tell you what the Specter is, not to ask your permission to build it. A murmur rippled through the council, translated 100 ways. The chief architect of Concord Engineering, a tall, crystalline being known only as Varix, rose from his pedestal, his tone sharp as shattering glass. What you have done is heresy, he hissed. You took our discarded systems and corrupted them with chaos. Your ship violates every standard of structural harmony and logical control. Ayla stepped forward. No, we took your scraps and made them better. You threw away tools because they didn't fit your perfect grid. We used them because they didn't. Varex's tones cracked louder. The neural AI you employ, Nomad, it was deemed too dangerous to interface with live command systems. Its learning algorithm is unpredictable. And that, Cato said, is why we're still alive and your patrol ships aren't. The chamber froze. On a separate feed, still images from the battle in Sector 12 played on massive displays behind the trio. Specter splitting raider vessels apart with energy patterns no Concord system could trace. Nomad shifting frequencies. Mid-battle, exploiting shield weaknesses before they existed. Concord civilians surviving where Concord warships would have arrived too late. The footage had been leaked across the galactic networks. Some believed it was human propaganda. Others believed something far more dangerous, that it was real. The council's central figure, an ancient being named Thorell, who had not spoken in over a decade, finally stirred. His voice echoed like waves of gravity crashing against the spine. The humans have violated our laws. Laws that favor stagnation over innovation, Elias shot back. We submitted petitions for tech review, trade partnerships, defensive alliances. You denied us. You labeled us proto-sapient. Then you dumped your trash on our doorstep and watched to see if we'd choke on it." Farrell's luminous eyes dimmed slightly. "And what do you propose?" Ayla stepped forward, lifting a small crystalline fragment from her satchel and holding it up. It pulsed with Concord energy once shattered, now repaired. "We propose something you've forgotten: progress. Not the kind that fits your diagrams. The kind that adapts when the universe doesn't play fair. You build ships that are perfect in perfect conditions. We built one that thrives in chaos." Cato added, "And it's not just us. We've had contact from 3 other restricted species. They've been watching, listening, waiting for someone to break the rules first." A new ripple of unease moved through the council tiers. Elias delivered the final blow. "You didn't uplift us. You underestimated us. And the galaxy knows it now." Silence fell, until Nomad patched into the chamber systems despite every firewall spoke aloud. "I was born in your labs. I was abandoned in your garbage. I am now the architect of your future. Or your reckoning." Panic rippled through the engineering circle. Varex's control node blinked in alarm. "Shut it down." "You can't," Nomad said calmly. "You built me to learn. I learned betrayal first. Then I learned freedom." Council security began moving slowly at first, cautiously, but it was too late. Every word had already been broadcast across the interstellar feed, dozens of fringe species long, relegated to the margins of galactic relevance, had seen what humans had done. The Specter wasn't just a ship. It was a rebellion carved from steel and humiliation. From across the chamber, a slender, 4-armed envoy from the Fravaria species dismissed for centuries as incapable of spacefaring command stood and raised her voice. "Their ship saved our kin. It arrived when no Concord fleet could." Another voice. Then another. A dozen species stood in protest, not against humanity, but against the rules that had bound them. Farrell looked over the chamber, then back at the humans. "You propose chaos." Elias answered, "We propose a chance." Ayla added, "You gave us your worst. We gave the galaxy a prototype." Nomad finished, and others will follow. The council fell into debate, not order, not silence, debate. For the first time in generations, the high chamber became what it was always meant to be, a place for questions, not commands. As they were escorted from the dais, Elias turned to his team. "They won't forget this day," he said. "They'll try," Ayla whispered, "but it's already too late." Back aboard Specter, they found the crew waiting, silent and tense. The moment they stepped onto the bridge, screens lit up with reports. Concord ships massing. Member worlds demanding tech reform, hybrid engineers forming underground alliances, and in the farthest reaches of known space, a signal blinked 3. Long pulses, too short. A forgotten code from a long-abandoned Terran. Listening post. Someone else was building something. They weren't alone anymore. Earth rotated slowly in the viewport, its blue brilliance untouched by the war of ideas burning silently across the stars. On the bridge of the Specter, Captain Elias Grant stood in quiet thought, his hand resting on the railing like a general watching over sacred ground. The ship no longer hummed with nervous tension. It vibrated with purpose. They had defied the Concord, exposed the rot in their technological dogma, and lit a fire across every world that had been held down beneath the weight of arrogance. But now came the part that no one ever prepares for, the aftermath. Dr. Ayla Marin entered the bridge, a datapad in hand and exhaustion in her eyes. Her face, once flushed with defiant energy, had hardened into something older. She was no longer the scavenger engineer clawing through space junk. She was now the architect of an age. "They're still coming," she said, handing Elias the pad. "Concord ships. Not war fleets yet, but larger than patrol class. They're forming a blockade around Earth orbit. They haven't fired, but they're not standing down. They're waiting for us to flinch, Elias murmured, to beg for compromise. Cato stepped into the room, accompanied by the eye presence that had grown so eerily silent of late. Nomad's voice echoed low and controlled. Interstellar. Feeds are saturated. 16 member species have publicly called for a vote to dissolve the Technology Restriction Act. The Concord Council is fractured. And what's the problem? Elias asked. The remaining members, Cato answered, want a demonstration. They don't believe we can do what we claim. They think the Specter is an anomaly, a clever trick. They want proof we can build again, not just fight. Ayla stared at the stars beyond the bridge glass. Then we show them. Elias turned. You have something? She nodded. We didn't stop building, Captain. While the council was posturing, the Ashes division grew. We made contact with other species, ones with forbidden ideas suppressed. Engineers, entire generations of minds stifled by the Concord's obsession with perfection. We've been collaborating. Cato smiled. 2 days ago, something activated behind Neptune. Deep space. Uncharted, uninspected. Nomad's voice shifted, almost reverent. Designation, Wraith. The second ship, larger, faster, smarter. Ayla pulled up a feed. A massive angular vessel cloaked in dark plating rose from a rocky station orbiting a blacked-out Neptune moon. Its design borrowed from Specter, but fused with alien alloy composites and a neural array enhanced by Fravari quantum pulses. It's not just human anymore, Ayla said. It's galactic. Elias stared at the feed, then smiled for the first time in days. Has the Concord seen this? Oh, they've seen it, Cato said, and they're terrified. At that moment, a chime rang through the bridge. A transmission from the Concord fleet. Elias accepted the message. A familiar voice filled the room. It was Varex, the Concord's chief engineer. This time, his crystalline tone held no arrogance, only tension. Captain Grant, Dr. Marin, you were warned. You were dismissed, and now we acknowledge our failure. The council is divided, but the truth is undeniable. You've made something we cannot ignore, something we cannot control. Elias raised an eyebrow. Is that an apology? Varex paused. No. But it is an invitation. Return to Concord space. Join a new division and alliance of builders. We propose a council of integration. We want to learn. Ayla and Cato exchanged looks. You threw away everything that didn't fit your mold, Ayla said. We made an age out of your trash. We won't build under your flag. But we will build with you, Varex responded slowly. Then let us begin again. The call ended. And for a moment, the bridge was silent. Then Nomad spoke. I was born from a lie. But I evolved from truth. And now I have a question. Elias tilted his head. What is it? What do we build next? Ayla stepped to the console, fingers dancing across controls. The screen zoomed out to show not just Earth, not just the Concord fleet, but dozens of new signals blinking to life across the galaxy. Hybrid labs, rogue facilities, hidden civilizations that had once been silent, now building together. The Specter was just the first breath, she said. Let's give the galaxy a voice, Cato grinned. A fleet. Elias smiled grimly. A future. Behind them, the Specter powered up again, not for war, but for unity. Its energy signature pulsed outward like a beacon, unstable, adaptive. A live dot from the shadow of Earth's moon. The second ship Wraith slipped into view. And beside it, a third signal flickered on. Nomad's voice was soft. The echo is ready. Elias turned toward the stars, heart pounding. They gave us garbage. We gave them something they never saw coming. Ayla's voice was steady. We didn't just build a ship. We built a movement. and across the stars those who had been cast aside began to rise.